Hello, I'm Becky Norton from the Spirit of 76 Museum in Wellington, Ohio. With me today is Jenny Arntz, the director of Main Street Wellington, who is usually behind the camera. So I'm glad that she decided to come out. And we are also with Amy Jordan Sword here today. As some of you may know, if you've been following our antics here on our videos, we are talking about endowments this month because there is a crowdfunding called Connect with the Cause. We've talked about the Main Street Endowment, we've talked about the Spirit of 76 Endowment. Some of you may know that we were at the library, talked about the Library Endowment. And today Amy is going to talk to us a little bit about the Wellington Schools Endowment, which is near and dear to all of us because every one of us is a graduate of Wellington High School. Yay, go Dukes, right. So Amy, first of all, how did you get involved with the endowment?
Sure. So I lived in Columbus for about 11 years after I graduated, and I grew up in Wellington, so I was lucky enough to be the recipient of some of these great teacher grants through the endowment. And my dad was on the endowment board for quite a while, and I was asked to be on it when we moved back, and we have 2 boys in the district. So I've been on the endowment board for about 7 years now.
Yay, that's great. So what is the history of the Wellington Schools Endowment?
Sure. So in 1987, the superintendent at the time, Dr. McGlamory, he started the endowment. He had a really cool visionary idea to create a funding area where teachers can access grants. We could do a Saving for College program for students that want to go on and continue their education. And also he was thinking about scholarships. So the great thing about endowment is we are the only school in Ohio that has a 529 match program, which is really exciting.
That's amazing.
Dr. McGlamory really was a visionary. I was privileged to have been teaching while he was superintendent here, and he had a lot of great ideas. So can you tell us a little bit about this matching that you were talking about?
Sure. So there's 1 match per school year. So it's for any Wellington student in kindergarten to 12th grade, you can contribute. And you can contribute up to a maximum of $1,000 in a student's 529 account. And you can check the Wellington Schools website, their stipulations. It has to be an Ohio 529 account, which is easy to do. So if you already have a 529 account that's not an Ohio one, it's no problem. You can open up more than one for a student. So you would open up a 529 account, contribute to it, and then the endowment will match up to 25% of that contribution for a maximum of $250 for a $1,000 contribution. So that can really add up.
It really can.
Yeah,
It's very, very worthwhile. I know we were talking a little bit about the endowment before we got started with the taping. That's an old thing. Videoing. Okay, it's showing my age. But anyway, so what happens when maybe a student gets to graduation time and they decide that maybe they want to either not go to a school or perhaps go to a tech school and they don't feel that they can use their money in their account? What happens?
So there's a lot of flexibility with the 529, which is great. You can pass it on to a sibling. You can even pass it on to other family members like parents, grandparents, cousins. And the key thing is you have to keep that money invested to avoid any kind of tax penalty. But if you decide you want to go to a technical school, that's amazing. You can use the 529 funds for that. If you decide you want to go to a school outside of Ohio, you can use the 529 funds for that. And maybe if you're, past college and you're older and you decide you want to pursue a master's degree or any kind of education, the 529 can work for that. And also the other flexibility is you can take that 529 and pass it down to your child, your grandchildren, to their kids, so you can keep transferring it in different names.
Wow, that's terrific. So that's one aspect of your endowment.
Can I say something really quick?
Sure, Jen.
Sorry. I just wanted to say, for everyone out there, Wellington Kiwanis also partners in a way with the 529, and I believe if they sign up in kindergarten, and it might be up through 2nd grade, they give an additional $50.
Yes, Kiwanis has been an amazing partner. Yeah, and actually
that's free money.
Yes, and it will continue to grow, which is a great thing.
Yes.
So this year on Wednesday, November 30th at 6 p.m. at Westwood, we are going to be holding an hour-long Saving for College night. And this will be honoring students at Wellington in grades K or kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. It's generally targeted towards kindergarten, but with COVID, we weren't able to do it for first and second grade, so we're taking all 3 of those grades and doing it together. And Kiwanis will give a $50 donation to that student's account to get kind of a Kickstarter fund. And then in addition to that, whatever the parents contribute, the endowment can match up to 25% too. And I wanted to say too, we have a certain amount of funds that we can divide between the students, and occasionally the fund might be 18% match or 25% match, but we always take those funds and divide them evenly between all the students. So it's really a great program, and we love the partnership with Kiwanis.
Yes. So if you have a kindergartner or even a first or second grader in the Wellington school system, be sure to show up in November 30th, you said?
November 30th at 6 at Westwood, and then also on Friday night, December 2nd, there's a home basketball game versus Keystone. So we are going to have an event that night as well. So if you miss it on Wednesday, and Wednesday it'll be virtual as well, and you can always rewatch that too and check with Dr. Kubasak at Westwood. And then Friday night, the night of the basketball game from 6 to 7, we'll have several different people there that can help. We'll have representatives from Fifth Third Bank, Edward Jones, and also we have somebody coming in from Columbus that knows all about the Ohio Tuition Trust Authority 529. So it's really a great place to go, get all your questions answered, and just learn a little more and feel comfortable with how to set up an account.
Yes, it's certainly important to start now. Just like with retirement funds, you don't want to start when you're going to retire in a year. You don't want to start the kids' college fund when they're going to be graduating from high school. In a year's time, you need to plan ahead a little bit. Well, Jenny and I both represent organizations that have endowments, and I know for our endowment here at the museum, we get funds. Now, since we have only started ours, it's not been that long ago, we tend to reinvest our funds so that we can grow it a little bit more. But I know that when we get a check, then we can spend it as we see fit. How is it with the school's endowment? Because I know it works a little bit differently. So let's say that as a teacher, I want to tap into the endowment funds. So tell us a little bit about that. What the endowment money goes for and how a teacher would tap into those funds.
Sure. So kind of overall, there's 3 areas that the endowment can help Wellington students. So it's in the Saving for College 529 match, which we discussed, and that's once per academic year per student. And then there are teacher grants, and then there are scholarships that we give out in the spring. So really, Wellington's an amazing place. We have very generous people in this community that have donated a lot to various different funds. And the exciting thing is we have some funds that are set up specifically for performing arts, or maybe specifically for music or for science and technology. And we also have a really amazing general fund. So if you're a teacher and you're interested in, maybe getting some workout bands for your gym class, and you don't have the funds, and the district says, hey, we don't have the ability for that, then you can write a teacher grant. And then as a board, the endowment board will review that, and we'll ask questions, make a recommendation if we approve that, and then it goes to the Board of Education, and Mr. Weber's involved, and then they will approve it. So there are 3 grant cycles per academic year, and the teachers can apply, and if they have any questions, feel free to contact myself or Carrie Stannard. And the teacher grants are really one of the most fun parts of the endowment, because kids have been able to go to Henry Ford Museum last spring. They get some really cool technology in the classrooms. They're able to get speakers in. Another great grant we had at McCormick was called Geometry in Motion, and it was a speaker that came in, and he has all these dance moves to help explain geometry. So really, some really cool creative things that teachers do that we can help fund those ideas. So it's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is exciting. I've seen some of the grants. Well, I've written a couple of the grants also back in the day, but just to be able to take the band to Severance Hall for a concert, or things that teachers think of out of the box that aren't normally covered by the school, is really terrific.
And that's a great point. So really the endowment's mission is to help fund those activities that are above and beyond what the school district
Mhm.
needs to do to educate our kids. So, anything above and beyond that we can help with, we're happy to help. So it's pretty exciting. I think Wellington students have been touched by all these different cool field trips and different ideas in the classroom.
Yes. I also think it's wonderful the amount of money that are in the arts, let's say the theater, I guess is the more to the point, so that if lights go out or they need a new soundboard or whatever, the endowment has the money there to help fund that, which I think is just amazing.
It is. And the great thing, if you give to the endowment, it's a great way to continue the legacy of Wellington
Yes.
Schools giving back to the children, because when you give money, that money is all invested. And then the endowment invests that with Lorain County Community Foundation, and they hold the money, and then we receive some of that interest and some of the earnings off of that. So your gift will always live on and continue to produce
Yes.
income for the schools, which is really exciting because it just continues to grow and affect
Yes.
kids for the future.
And that's how all of our endowments are also, whether it's Main Street, the library, the schools, the museum, or whatever. We are invested with the Community Foundation of Lorain County, and it is a wonderful, wonderful legacy that it keeps growing. So your dollars, instead of being spent right away, are invested and help kids in the future, or museum projects in the future, or Main Street projects. It's all a wonderful thing. So, Amy, is there anything else you'd like to add? You've done a great job.
Oh, thank you. Well, the endowment's a great group of people, and we really care about Wellington students, and any amount of a donation is helpful. And if anybody has any questions about 529s or teacher grants or anything we do, we're happy to discuss at any time.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes.
Sure. So if you go to the Wellington Schools website, there is an endowment link, and we actually have an endowment email. It's dukesendowment@gmail.com. So that email is a great way to get in touch with all of us, and the right person can get back to you and give you an answer.
And make sure it's our Wellington schools here in Lorain County, because there is a Wellington school in Columbus. I think they have a lot more money than we do, but it's an academy. But thank you so much,
Thank you.
Amy, for being
It's
with
great to
us.
see you
and
both. Thanks for having me.
You're entirely welcome. Make sure you donate to the endowments. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Thank you.